Hello! Magandang umaga, magandang gabi, tanghali kung nasan man kayong parte ng mundo. Ako po si Doc Fee ng inyong Ahabay Atensyos.
Hello, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. I'm Dr. Susat from My Low Carb MD.
Yes, and tonight is going to be another night for Ask Us Anything. So magkakaroon na naman po tayo dito ng live na question and answer. And for this episode, we are going to entertain questions. So kung meron po kayong mga katanungan regarding metabolic health and especially low carb nutrition, pwedeng-pwede po kayo na sulat ng inyong mga questions through the comment section. And para sa ganon, kapag nabasa namin and alam namin na makakatulong sa inyo ang aming mga kasagutan, then we'll also answer those questions. So basically, it's another night and it's first na Tuesday ng February. So ano ba mga sineselebrate ngayong February, Doc? Bukod sa Valentine's na very obvious naman, Valentine's Day.
No, technically sa Middle East, hindi generally nagse-celebrate or bihira lang ang nagse-celebrate ng Valentine's Day sa Middle East kasi 'di ba, history ng Valentine's Day is Saint Valentine's. So
Yes.
so the Islams, they don't have Saint Valentine. So yung ibang mga kabataan which is nag-aral outside the country, yun, sila usually they celebrate. But sa ngayon, may mga nagse-celebrate na even sa mga hotels, meron na silang mga offerings. But yung mga nagse-celebrate dito hindi ganoon kadami, hindi katulad diyan sa atin sa Philippines na sobrang madami talaga. Mas na sineselebrate dito sa Middle East yung Mother's Day actually.
Yun yung usual dyan. So,
Oo,
pagka
yun yung
ano,
madalas.
um, syempre dito, alam mo naman, parang very, ano yung tawag dito? Very excited ang mga tao naman sa Philippines pagka February
Yeah.
talagang araw ng mga puso. But I also learned that February is also National Cancer Awareness Month. So any type of cancer, I think is also being, ano ngayon, parang celebrated this month. So, marami. So, huwag kayong magkaka-cancer para umabot kayo ng Valentine's. At huwag magkaka-cancer after ng Valentine's. Huwag mag-cheat para hindi magka-cancer after Valentine's. So, would that be counted as well? So, hello po sa inyo lahat. Hello po Sir Kit. Ayan. And si Ma'am Nilda, meron agad siyang tanong. How one will live? Paano daw ang isa ay mabubuhay
Ikaw
after
ang
cancer
sasagot dyan,
treatment?
definitely.
Definitely buhay pa naman po ako after the cancer treatment. So, hindi ko po kasi una-una sa lahat, I think mas maganda if the question would be more specific, I guess. Because how one will live after cancer treatment, if you have survived the cancer treatment, there are still some things that you need to do in order for you to stay in remission. One thing I know for sure, with chemo. Ito, kasi Ma'am Nilda, medyo vague yung question eh. How one will live after cancer treatment with chemo and radiation? Obviously, some people who dies sa cancer treatment and radiation, some of them do not just die because of the chemo alone and radiation. Alam niyo po ba na mostly, namamatay because of heart attack pa rin, some of them stroke pa rin, and some of them clots pa rin. So, basically, there are many ways you can die from chemo and radiation. Kaya mahalaga na malakas ang katawan, mahalaga na during the time of your chemo and radiation, you don't have other comorbidities as well. And after the chemo and radiation, you need to recover, but while you are recovering, there are many ways you can stay in remission. Pero yun nga, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, one thing I know for sure, some of us may have cancer cells that we do not know about because there is no manifestation. Wala pang nagpapakita. Wala din kahit anong evidences because when I say evidence, some cancer are diagnosed only because of evidences such as tumor and mass. or abnormality in the blood and abnormalities seen, like for example in markers such as PSA, such as your hematology, CBC, if that is not about tumors, kung yan ay blood dyscrasia or blood disorders. Pero those are just evidences. And most of us may have a cancer cell waiting for the right environment for it to spread out or lumaki or mag-progress. So even after the chemo and radiation treatment, it doesn't mean you do not have cancer na or hindi ka na magkaka-cancer. Maybe you will stay in remission or maybe you will stay without any evidences of cancer because hindi na magkakaroon ng bukol or hindi na magkakaroon ng abnormality sa markers. But definitely, hindi siya assurance that you will stay cancer-free. I don't think there is a person where we can really pronounce as cancer-free, even those without diagnosis yet, because cancer cell, hindi po yan basta-basta na didetect at hindi po yan basta-basta na kikita. So yeah, how one will live after cancer treatment with chemo and radiation, make sure that you don't have any condition that may also trigger again another growth, or dapat nandun kayo lagi sa condition that also promotes recovery after chemo and radiation. So napakahalaga talaga dito na minamanage natin yung other comorbidities. Because cancer is also part of metabolic diseases nowadays. So ibig sabihin nun, mahalaga na yung mga comorbidities or mga conditions along with your cancer, such as diabetes, hypertension, and iba pa, is controlled din dapat. Ayan.
So, if I may add up with that, Fee, siguro, malaking bagay for mga cancer patients or yung mga cancer na they just finished the treatment, na nagre-recover sila with the chemo and radiation. Kasi, di ba, syempre, merong di ba, may window period na paghihintay, tapos mag-undergo uli ng diagnostics. So, I believe malaki yung role dito ng mga community, be involved in a community. Kasi it is, I think it is, nakakatulong para sa mga cancer patients na kakatapos ng treatment nila, na meron mga tao na they can share yung kanilang experiences. Kasi halos yung treatment modalities natin sa ngayon is halos pare-parehas. It's cancer, it's chemotherapy, it's radiotherapy. And first, they do undergo surgery. So you can share your experiences with them, kung ano yung ginagawa ninyo after. Nagkakaroon kayo ng sharing sa mga hindi pangit man alalahanin, I think, yung mga struggles, but siguro kung meron mang makakaintindi ng fully sa mga patients na nag-undergo ng treatment is yung mga nakaka-experience din ng same struggles na katulad nila. So, malaking factor kasi yung stress management on cancer patients, kasi we know that stress is nagdadagdag pa doon sa problem. Kasi it's supposed to be, cancer treatment is holistically. Hindi lang basta tinreat mo yung cancer, nag-surgery, nag-chemotherapy. It's supposed to be holistically. So aayusin mo yung stress management, the way you eat, the way you sleep. Yan, lahat na. So I believe magandang community is makakatulong aside from sa family and friends na meron ka.
Yes. So, ano pa ang meron tayo dito? Hello, sir.
Good evening din po, Sir Romel.
Yan. Watching from Angeles. Hello, Doc Zet. Oh, very specific sa Ate Maribel.
Hi, Ate Maribel.
Symptoms of cancer na hindi dapat balewalain po. Actually, maraming symptoms ang cancer eh. Because it depends kung ano yung organ na kasama. But anything actually kasi guys, anything that is unusual should not really be ignored, whether it is cancer or not. Like for example, unexplained weight loss, unexplained bleeding, or anything that you find unusual in your body, like changes in color, changes ng may mga dimpling sa skin or whatsoever, should not be ignored. So it's not just cancer, Sir Ron, but alam niyo po kasi, meron tayong mga tinatawag na non-specific symptoms or non-specific findings, wherein one symptom could give us a different parang different types of diagnosis. So wala pong specific symptom that will actually lead us na this could be cancer, but anything unusual could actually lead us that there is something wrong with our body. So yun po yung reason kung bakit hindi natin dapat baliwalain yung mga unusual na nangyayari sa ating katawan. Let's say for example, if that's brain tumor, that could be headache, that could be unilateral pain, that could be, it depends din kung saan siya or ano din yung part na naiipit niya. If that is on your breast, magkakaroon ng mga dimpling, magkakaroon ng mga mass, magkakaroon ng discoloration. If it's in your blood, there is unexplained fatigue, pagod, meron ding unexplained bleeding, meron din mga mga pamumutla, madaling magpasa. Kung sakaling lymph node naman yan or lymphoma, there could also be like symptoms na madali kang ma-infect. Kaparehas din yun ng autoimmune or immunocompromised state. Even blood dyscrasia or blood disorder could manifest as simple pain. Like for example, muscle pain because of lack of oxygenation, kumbaga yung efficiency ng pag-deliver ng oxygen. So it's all non-specific symptoms. So mahirap na i-lead mo siya agad na ay cancer to, may cancer to. Pero anything unusual should have parang dapat magkaroon ng suspicion. Kahit pa hindi cancer yan na sakit, pero the point is hindi normal na nangyayari sa katawan ng isang tao. Na-address ba parang cancer night tayo ngayon na-address mo ba?
Because it's cancer month.
Yeah, it's cancer month. And we're so happy to cater. So, na-address ba ang leukemia sa low carb? Good evening daw sa atin, sabi ni Sir Ramil Salazar.
Okay.
Ayan. So,
kapag kasi specifically kasi ganito na may mga diseases na, low carb can do something, but if you want to have or maka-benefit more, I would specifically recommend or advise or prescribe therapeutic ketogenic diet on leukemia or specifically cancer, because there are a lot of studies na involving cancer na ginagamitan siya ng therapeutic carbohydrate restriction therapy. So that's basically therapeutic ketogenic diet. So kapag kasi sinabi nating therapeutic, it's supposed to be hindi siya DIY. It's supposed to be being managed by a doctor or a medical health practitioner na versed into a ketogenic diet. Kasi hindi mo gusto na mag-DIY on these types of diseases kasi nga naghahabol ka ng oras. Hindi mo alam kung gaano or yung galawan ng mga cancer cells. Merong kasing mga cancer cells na bigla silang nagme-metastasize agad-agad. Especially now na ang dami na ding lumalabas na hindi na lang chemotherapy, radiotherapy ang mode of treatment with cancer. Marami ng mga studies na lumalabas. Although hindi siya ina-adopt pa ng standard treatment of care, but there are a lot of anecdotes na patients can heal with yung non-traditional mode of treatment plus ketogenic diet. Yun yung specifically na nandun sa guidelines. So, the low carb may help, but it may not be enough.
Yes. Sabi nga natin, it can only do parang tawag dito parang It can only help on a certain limit. But basically, this is not a miracle nutrition or something that can do magic in everything. But kung ang tanong naman is it contraindicated in a patient with leukemia? No, it's not. So basically, if you want to know how it can help more in leukemia patient, then there's no harm in trying low carbohydrate diet for patient with leukemia because this is not even contraindicated to a patient na may leukemia. Okay? Watching while doing something else. Kinabahan ako sa something else.
Attorney, ano yung something?
Aga mo mag-Valentine's. Sabi dito ni Ma'am Net, ang alam ko nasagot na natin to. Actually, naaalala ko pa yung sagot ni Doc Suzette dito eh. Yung our processed meat like sausages, corned beef, bacon, longganisa, tocino, Hungarian sausage allowed in the carnivore diet. Thanks, sabi ni Ma'am Net. Actually po, kailangan kasi una nating aalamin yung konsepto. What is the main concept in doing the carnivore diet? Doing the carnivore diet is not simply eating meat. Kumbaga, hindi lang siya, I just wanna eat all meat. But the concept in doing carnivore diet is actually parang doing a strategy that will lower down inflammation while also lowering down the blood sugar, while also improving cravings and managing addiction. So, kung titignan mo yung concept na yun, kung ano yung reason kung bakit nag-e-exist ang strategy ng carnivore diet, masasagot na agad yung tanong na to. Is processed food like sausages, corned beef, bacon, longganisa, and tocino anti-inflammatory? Because if not, then you are doing a carnivore diet not for its main purpose, but you are just doing a carnivore diet for the sake of doing the carnivore diet. Magkaiba yon. May mga Hungarian sausages and even other sausages na hindi ultra-processed. Kasi minsan, iniisip natin agad because it's Hungarian sausage or other sausages, iniisip natin agad ultra-processed. Pero meron kasi, like for example, kami dito, meron kaming nabibilhan ng mga Polish sausages na hindi sila ultra-processed. Hindi kagaya nung kapag tinignan nyo yung sa mga supermarket na from mga brands na sila na ng mga big food company, ang dami-dami na parang flavored sausages na sila. Pero hindi sila pure beef, hindi na sila pure pork, hindi na sila something like that. Ang corned beef, hindi naman lahat ng corned beef are processed. Meaning to say, you can make your own corned beef at home and that is still corned beef. But if we are talking about canned corned beef, then that is another thing. Bacon is not always ultra-processed. Bacon can be just a plain bacon cut. And longganisa, you can make your own longganisa just by mixing a bit of pepper or white pepper and then salt, and that's it. That's already longganisa. But tocino, basically, mahirap talaga yan gawin kasi hindi mo pwedeng patamisin ng tocino nang wala kang ilalagay na pampatamis, whether it is real sugar or synthetic, non-caloric, non-sugar, or non-sugar sweetener. So, basically, wag tayong lalayo sa concept. Meaning to say, para hindi tayo malilito, unawain natin kung bakit natin isinasagawa ang mga bagay-bagay at kung para saan natin sila ginagawa. This is basically a medical strategy kung tutuusin. It's anti-inflammatory. It's supposed to be stabilizing the sugar and insulin, and at the same time, improves cravings and manage ang addiction. So, lagi nating tatanungin, is this food na I'm eating anti-inflammatory? Wala ba tong mga artificial na sahog? Wala ba itong mga spices that I am intolerant? Or mayroon ba tong mga sangkap na sensitive yung katawan ko? Then, agad-agad, X na yon, hindi na yon pwede. So, ang sagot ko dito, if these are ultra-processed meat, and if it contains spices that you are not, kumbaga, your body cannot tolerate, then it should not be part of your diet at all.
Mhm.
Yes. Other questions?
Pero ako, ano ako guilty ako dyan. Aamin ako dyan.
Yes.
Kasi, sausage, alam niyo naman 'di ba na walang hindi sa wala. Meron kami ditong pork but it's too expensive.
Yes.
So noong umuwi ako ng bakasyon ko, may dala akong longganisa ng Ilocos. And you know the longganisa ng Ilocos is
Yes.
ano siya? Palengke lang usually it's garlic plus suka. Yun ang main ingredients ng longganisang Ilocos. Plus, meron akong dalang smoked bacon and smoked sausage. Galing, in-order ko siya kay Coach Luis. So,
yes.
So,
Doc,
I
smoked bacon ay pasok yan eh. Kasi that's just
exactly.
smoked bacon.
It's smoked bacon, it's longganisa.
Yes,
alam ko yung dinadrive ni Ma'am Nenet eh. Pero 'di ba kasi ang problema kasi dito, nale-label na naman or nakukulong na naman tayo on the principle or on the idea that a carnivore diet is dapat paano ba? Hindi processed or in the times na kasi kapag sinabi natin sausage or corned beef, ang mindset kasi dito canned. Pag sinabing bacon,
yun agad ang iisipin.
Pag sinabing bacon, yung sa grocery, binili yan, tapos kinured, may sugar, processed, di ba? Yung Hungarian sausage. So, wala namang Hungarian sausage talaga sa Pilipinas. It's imported. So, definitely, para ma-process, para ma-transport yan, ma-import yan, again, meron siyang preservatives, di ba? So, kung pagbabasihan natin is yung name itself, kasi ano bang itatawag mo sa longganisa? Longganisa naman talaga. Anong itatawag mo sa bacon? Bacon naman talaga. Anong itatawag mo sa corned beef kahit na homemade corned beef yan? It's still corned beef pa rin naman. Pero, di ba? Wala namang iba eh. Meron pa bang ibang tawag? But, processed meat, pinroseso pa rin naman yung karne for preserving the meat. Kasi, kaya naman yun yung madadala ko here kasi, na-proseso yung meat in such a way na hindi siya mapapanis agad-agad, 'di ba? So, if magpapakulong ka sa mentality, ito kasi yung problema with the label of the ketogenic diet, with the carnivore diet, with the low carb diet, nakukulong tayo or nakukulong yung mga practitioner or yung nakikinig sa atin na yung mga nagsisimula pa lang without the in-depth knowledge of ano ba talaga yung kanilang motive, ano ba talaga yung kanilang reason for doing such diet. Kasi kung alam mo sa sarili mo kung bakit ka nag-carnivore diet or why did you choose to be on a ketovore or ketogenic diet, hindi issue yung ganitong mga questions. You can still eat corned beef, you can still eat bacon, you can still eat longganisa, kahit na sabihin mong carnivore yan, kahit na sabihin mong ketogenic diet yan, kahit sabihin mong low carb diet yan. So, I agree with you na ano ba yung motive? Ano ba yung level na gusto mong i-achieve? Kasi kung meron kang level na gusto mong i-achieve and you want to stick with it, at kung gusto mo talaga na mag-succeed ka, you need to plan your meal ahead of time. Kasi if you don't plan your meal, darating yung cravings at wala kang plan, then definitely mag-give in ka dun sa cravings mo. And then eventually, mag-cheat ka in a sense na pinagbigyan mo yung sarili mo kasi wala kang counter plan na ipapasok mo pamalit doon sa cravings na nararamdaman mo, 'di ba? Kaya doon madalas nagfa-fail. As much as you want to stick with the diet, but you plan to fail. You plan na to fail kasi nga hindi ka nag-isip ng strategy or hindi ka naghanda ng plan na what if dumating yung panahon na to na nagka-crave ako na may gusto kong kainin, wala kang food na nasa bahay mo or wala kang nakareserba, doon ka na madadali. I also have mga uncooked chicharon here. So, pag dumating yung time na hindi ako nagugutom, naboboard yung bibig ko, wala akong makakain or wala akong ipampapalit. So I have a stash of uncooked chicharon na I can cook anytime kapag dumating yung pakiramdam ko na nabobore lang yung bibig ko, but I want to eat. So that's my plan. I plan ahead. 'Di ba? So if hindi ka naka-ready for that, then definitely most of the time you will fail with your diet. Lalo na kung nagsisimula ka pa lang.
Ito maganda rin yung tanong ni Ma'am Vicky. Kasi tinanong din to ng patient ko kanina. Gaano kasamang effect kapag naka-strict LC at bigla kang napakain ng HC? Mas okay po ba na mag-maintain na lang ng liberal level ng LC kung hindi sure na masusustain ito, especially sa nature ng work na iba ang nagpe-prepare ng food at iba-ibang location, especially kapag out of the country ka? Paano ba yung biglang napakain ng HC? So, papasok ulit dito yung sinabi ni Doc Suzette. Unplanned or paano yung bigla? So, I think we need to characterize or define what is bigla kang napakain ng HC. Is it something na kasi no choice ka or hindi mo pinag-isipan kaya ka nabigla? Magkaiba yon. When it comes to, mas okay ba na mag-maintain ng liberal level ng LC? You know what, guys? It really depends Kasi it's not going to be us who will say, okay ba? Ang tanong, okay ba sa katawan mo? Kasi definitely, ano yung masamang effect kapag naka-strict LC ka at bigla ka napakain ng HC? The masamang effect is also will also depend on how severe your case is na ginagamot mo. Let's say, for example, you're very insulin resistant pa, you're trying to do strict LC, and then you have not yet managed it, and then napakain ka ng HC, ang pinakamasamang effect niyan is, of course, you will still have spike in blood sugar, hindi pa rin magiging okay yung mga gusto mo i-improve. And then, kung pwede ba or dapat ba mag-maintain ka na lang ng liberal level ng LC, kung I guess, wala kami sa posisyon to answer that because unang-una sa lahat, it should be your body. Kasi kahit sabihin namin na okay ang liberal LC sa iba, because even on liberal LC, kasi ang liberal LC is 100 grams. And alam naman natin, even in the ketogenic book, di ba, Doc? Inaalaw nila ang liberal LC, especially for those who really who really don't want to do LC at all. Mas okay pa mag-liberal. At sa ibang mga pasyente, meron talagang significant changes kahit liberal LC lang. But the point is, what is your goal? So, kung okay na mag-maintain ka lang ng liberal LC, kailangan mong makita ano din yung improvement na ibibigay niya sa'yo at ikaw ba ay satisfied na with the improvement and satisfied ka na ba doon sa matatamo mo na resulta with just doing liberal LC? Because as far as I am concerned, pagkakaiba tayo ng goal. You know what, in patient-doctor relationship, it doesn't matter how severe it is for me kung ano yung sakit nyo. Ibig sabihin, as a physician, pwedeng kinakabahan na ako sa sakit ninyo. Or parang for me, pwedeng danger zone na kayo. Pero the perception of patient minsan is different. Meaning to say, kung ano yung kinakakabahan ko, hindi yun ang kinakakabahan ng patient. And kung ang goal ko minsan is for example, sobrang hardcore ng goal ng physician. Hindi po physician na magde-decide at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it is the perception of the patient. Kung anong tingin niya, na kondisyon niya, at ano yung level lang ng gusto niya na mata mo when it comes to his health, na doc, okay lang ako sa hanggang dito. Pwede ako balance. Maggagamot pa rin ako para balance. May gamot, may onting diet, kasi hindi ko kaya na pure diet. Hindi ako masaya. So, okay na ako na may gamot pa rin, tapos diet, improve lang, hindi mag-progress, something like that, if you get what I mean. So, basically, hindi po namin masasabi kung okay lang na mag-maintain kayo ng liberal level dahil una, Ma'am Vicky, syempre hindi namin alam anong condition ninyo. And hindi ko alam ang goal ninyo. Sustainability-wise, meron kasi dito yung tanong mo na, hindi ka sure na masusustain. Hindi ka sure. Ako, ang lagi kong sinasabi sa patient, you're overthinking and at the same time, you're overcomplicating things. Kinomplicate mo na over pa, di ba? Because sometimes, inuunahan natin. Hindi ka sure kung masusustain. But for me is, best foot forward. Meaning to say, kung ano yung kaya mo, kunwari, gumising ka ngayon, masusustain mo siya today, di isustain. Bukas, wala namang aberya, di isusustain. Next day, walang aberya, masusustain ulit. Within a week, nasustain mo. Ilang beses ka ba in a year pupunta ng abroad? Ilang beses ka ba in a month pupunta ng abroad? In comparison to days where you are just in the house or just in the work where you can still make baon or just in the work na kaya pa naman i-sustain. You know what? Iniisip natin yung mga days na hindi naman laging dumarating or hindi naman sobrang yun yung complicated. Tapos, i-compromise natin yung mga araw na kaya natin siyang i-sustain just because we are thinking ahead na hindi ko na kasi baka hindi ko lang siya masustain. The best advice here is, whenever you wake up, and hindi pa nangyayari yung mga kinakatakutan mo or hindi pa nangyayari yung mga bagay na inaalala mo, just do your best. Big sabihin nun, kung kaya mo siyang i-sustain that day, then sustain it. If there are days na sa tingin mo mako-compromise siya, then dyan po papasok yung lesser evil. And I don't care if it's lesser evil. Okay lang sa akin yon. Kaysa pumunta ka doon sa pinakapangit na na-practice. Lagi yung sinasabi sa ibang practitioner, no, if you're low carb kasi and you have idea na of what low carb is, I don't think you will indulge too much because there's always going to be caution na in the brain that when you see carb food, you know that's high carb. So, meaning to say, meron akong pasyente kanina, tinanong ko siya, pag nag-abroad ka ba, alam mo nakakain ka ng bread, but can you really indulge on that lots of bread with you having fear na alam mo kung ano yung effect sa'yo ng high carb? Hindi daw. Kasi nagkakaroon ka na ng awareness at nagkakaroon ka ng inhibition. Kasi nga, kapag alam mo na ang concept ng low carb, mahirapan ka rin mag-indulge. Kung paanong hirap ka rin mag-indulge sa fat nung takot ka pa sa fat, pag ikaw ay talagang nayakap mo ang low carb, matatakot ka rin naman kumain ng ganun karaming high carb eh. Because there will be guilt, there will also be like symptoms that you will feel thereafter. Diba? So, anything na pwedeng idagdag, Doc Suzette?
Kasi katulad nga nung previous, di ba? Gaano kasama yung effect kapag naka-strict? No one can tell. Kasi pwedeng ako nag-strict, bigla akong napakain ng high carb. Anong mararamdaman ko? Hindi ko alam kung yung effect sa akin is the same as yung effect sa inyo. But sa akin, if wala talaga akong I intend to eat high carb because nasa ibang lugar ako, especially halimbawa noong I went in Kazakhstan. So, syempre it's a new place for me. I want to enjoy to try the food especially. So, meron silang mga cuisine which is high carb but I want to taste. But I agree with you. May automatic na nag-shut off sa brain mo eh. Parang nag-signal na hindi pa sa takot ako, pero automatic siya. Na kapag
feeling mo kakagat ka, oo, sige, try natin yan, kagat tayo. Pero alam mo, agad yun na pagkagat
siya na nandun. Diba? Same thing din nung nandun ako sa Philippines. Diba? Nag-try tayo ng mga treats. So, nagkaroon ako ng diarrhea after. Pero, nung time na kinakain natin siya, sinabi ko na sa'yo kaagad na hindi ko to kayang i-tolerate kasi masyadong matamis. Diba? So, although wala naman nag-flash na parang warning, but I know na hindi ko siya kakainin dahil I know na keto treats, usually they have anti-nutrients. So, yun yung naka-flash dun sa brain mo. Pero, nung tinikman ko siya, it's okay because I want to gusto ko siyang matikman, gusto ko siyang malasahan kasi wala yun dito, walang ganong keto treats dito. Pero katulad nga ng sinabi ko, if hindi mo talaga kaya kasi nga because of the circumstances, then again, plan your food. Plan ahead of time. Hindi pwedeng susugod ka sa gera na alam mo naman na yung dadatnan mo. Tapos, hindi ka prepared. So, kung gusto mo talaga maging successful, you plan it weekly. So you have this food planner. Kung nagbabudget ka, it's a good exercise din kasi nagbabudget ka. So alam mo kung paano mo i-prepare yung food mo, alam mo na may baon ka. So ganun. Kasi kung hindi ka talaga magpa-plan, wala you're bound to fail 'di ba? Pero if you plan ahead of time na what if may ganito, what if mafo-force mo kasi yun 'di ba? So naka-ready ka, 'di ba? Pero as to what anong kailangan ba liberal lang para walang effect? How would you know na walang effect kapag naka-liberal ka lang tapos bigla kang nakakain ng hindi pala? Kasi baka hindi naman pala yung high carb yung magkakaroon ka ng effect sa'yo. But the inflammation or yung inflammatory ingredients na nandoon, nakasama ng high carb. May baka tolerated mo yung sugar level, pero hindi mo tolerated yung kasama noong high carb, which is yung oils, seed oils, and yung iba pang inflammatory na ingredients or substance na nandun sa food. Baka doon ka kasi magkaroon ng effect, hindi dahil doon sa high carb lang. So the best pa rin talaga is to prepare, to plan ahead of time.
Yes. At saka alam nyo po, like dito sa query ni Ma'am Vicky, no, not that we cannot empathize. Baka sabihin ni Ma'am Vicky, hindi nyo kasi naiintindihan yung work ko or whatsoever. But the thing is, since hindi talaga namin alam yung nature of work mo, it is really you who will figure it out. Yun yung pinakamasakit or pinakamasaklap na katotohanan when it comes to our lifestyle. Because what we can do is just to guide you. But you know your work better than we do. Ibig sabihin, mas alam mo kung ano yung adjustment sa time mo, mas alam mo kung ano yung mga the strategy and how you can figure it out, it's upon you. Ikaw ang mag-figure out. Like, how can I adjust my time to make sure, for example, nandito ka sa Pinas or hindi ka naman naka-out of the country, nasa work ka lang, for example, how can you do that? Pag nasa out of the country ka naman, is there a way, like, for example, may mga iba ba akong kakainan dito na, medyo siguro may onting toxic oil, but, knowing where na kayo kakain, are there always in the menu na pwede kong ma-order na, alam mo yon, na pwede sa akin? Because yun yung mga bagay talaga na ikaw lang din po yung makakapag-figure out as much as we want to help. The thing is, lahat tayo, we are always fixing something about our own lives na at the end of the day, tayo lang din yung makakapag-figure out. The thing is, we can only guide people, but we cannot really figure it out for you. The adjustment will be made by you. And the goals and how can you hit the target goal is still magre-rely pa rin talaga sa inyo. So, yun yung isa sa masaklap na katotohanan sa lahat ng mga pinagdadaanan natin, di lang sa diet. Pinagdadaanan natin sa buhay, sa love life, sa pamilya, sa mga usaping financial, lahat ito. At the end of the day, you may attend a lot of courses, but at the end of the day, it's going to be us who will figure things out. It will going to be us who will do the effort and will determine yung weakness and strength natin, which can help us to attain the goal. Yun talaga yun. Yun yung pinakamahirap. Magaganda yung mga tanong natin. Actually, tonight, I'm so happy. This one is also a valid question. Sabi dito, good PM, pag po ba ang total cholesterol sa initial stage ay tumaas, then later nag-normalize siya or bumaba? Ano yung meaning niya? So, na-distribute na ba siya sa cells ng katawan, lalo na kung hindi naman po nagbago yung diet at same pa din sa pagiging carnivore or low carb? Maybe the query is really about why is it that there is an initial increase when you do a diet, this diet, whether it's low carb, makikita mo yung medyo slight increase and from low carb to keto, and then ketovore to carnivore, mas tumataas. And then suddenly, makikita mo, it will not drop as low as dun pa rin sa guideline ng mga usual or traditional na sinusunod natin na guideline. But there is a drop. Kumbaga, bakit ganon? Parang I'm not changing anything. But isa rin yan sa reason kung ba't lagi namin sinasabi, if tumaas, bigyan nyo pa ng time. Bababa din yan. Or, hindi man yan mag-normalize, but eventually, it will not be that high anymore. Paano ba sagutin ito? Yung pagtaas kasi is something you cannot really, by demand kasi yan at hindi genetically, magkakaiba tayo na magiging respond. But definitely, what's wrong if tumaas? Yun din yung isang tanong eh. Alam nyo, nowadays, I am so, parang fond of watching Professor Bartkay because of that eh. And so what? Kung tumataas ang cholesterol, lagi niyang sinasabi.
Exactly.
So
Yun
what?
na yung sasabihin ko sana.
And so what? Because you cannot really, tawag dito, hindi mo naman mapipigilan ang normal physiology ng isang tao, but what is really wrong if it increase? Hindi naman po talaga something dapat nausapin ng cholesterol eh. Dito, sa space ng low carb, either bumaba o tumaas yan, will not tell us something about your health at all. Meaning to say, wala. So, basically, kung tumaas siya noon, there must be something happening. Whether kailangan ng katawan mo ng cholesterol. Tandaan ninyo, ang dami-dami nating pangangailangan sa cholesterol. Kailangan natin siya to replenish yung coating ng mga cells natin, kaya gumaganda yung kutis. Kailangan din natin siya in order for us na magkaroon ng rekado para gumawa ng hormones. Kailangan natin siya for repair. Part po ng ating immune system ay cholesterol din. So, ibig sabihin, yung immune system natin, resistensya natin, katuwang niya ang cholesterol in repairing. At the same time, fighting infection, kasama siya. At the same time, kasama siya sa brain, kasama din siya ng mga iba pang pangangailangan natin. So, kung tumataas yan, ibig sabihin, kailangan mo siya. Either may nire-repair ka, meron kang nire-replenish, meron kang ginagawa, and later on, it is not because na-distribute siya sa cells. Kasi, hindi nga natin na-measure ang cholesterol kung tutuusin eh. Ano ba yung total cholesterol na mini-measure dyan? It's just lipoprotein. Ang mini-measure lang po sa katawan natin ay yung vehicle o sasakyan ng cholesterol. So, kung titignan po ninyong nakalagay sa cholesterol or lipid ninyo ay total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, VLDL, and triglyceride. Ngayon, nakakatuwa because lagi ko sinasabi sa mga patient doc, nakalagay kasi doon sa kanilang mga nakalagay kasi sa mga laboratory nila, LDL cholesterol. Sabi ko, what if I tell you, it's not a cholesterol. LDL is a vehicle and inside that vehicle is the cholesterol and triglyceride. So now, who can really say gaano kadami ang cholesterol sa katawan ng isang tao? Walang makakapagsabi. Hindi natin alam. Blood workups, not enough to actually give us the picture of what is happening inside our body. So, wag mo na pong masyadong komplikaduhin kumbaga parang, hindi ko sinasabi na wag babaliwalain. Meaning to say, wag nyo nang isipin, something like that. Pero, sa totoo lang, mauubos ang oras ninyo in thinking what is happening inside the body. If you stick to this, like for example, ano nangyayari sa katawan ko when this cholesterol is ganito, or ganito. I guess, curious tayo lahat sa maraming bagay, but sa totoo lang, matutuwa kayong malaman na your blood workups are not going to say a lot about our body, but it pays to have the laboratory results. Ang tinitignan nga namin, hindi total cholesterol. Ako talaga sa triglyceride ako tumitingin. Kasi mas mayroon meaning sa akin yung triglyceride rather than your lipoproteins. Eh. So, yon Ma'am Elsie. Ayan. Ano pa ang pwede nating, ito daw, pwede daw ba gumaling? Or siguro ma-improve, Doc Suzette? Pwede ba ma-improve sa low carb?
Ang asthma. Maybe low carb, for me, I think low carb is not enough. Kasi, still asthma is inflammation. So, kung meron ka pa rin, yung threshold mo, na mag-trigger or mag-reactivate noong inflammation, still, pwede ka pa rin magkaroon ng, recurrence or susumpong pa rin yung asthma. But then again, if mas strictohan mo pa, mas lilinisin mo pa yung pagkain mo, hindi lang basta low carb, but tatanggalin mo lahat ng mga unprocessed foods, ultra-processed foods, seed oils, grains, mas better. Tapos, i-improve mo yung intake mo ng protein, mas okay siya.
Mm-hmm. Paano i-address ang mataas na FBS pero laging normal ang blood sugar before bedtime? Gaano rin kataas yung fasting blood sugar? Gaano ka rin katagal ba na nag-fasting bago tumaas yung FBS mo? Pero marami kasing meaning yung pagtaas ng ating fasting blood sugar. Pero most common ito sa mga tao na hindi pa rin sila ganun ka-insulin sensitive. And at the same time, marami pa silang glycogen stores. Tatandaan ninyo kapag tayo ay nagfa-fasting, pagka ikaw nag-hit ka na ng mga around 16 hours of fasting, no? Ang ginagawa na ng katawan natin, since mababa na yung blood sugar natin, sino-source out niya na yung ibang sources, such as your glycogen store. So, meaning to say, yes, mababa yung blood sugar mo before bedtime or even after 2 hours after eating your meal, for example, pero baka kasi marami ka pang glycogen store na hindi mo nagagamit. So, ibig sabihin, during the time na nakapag-fasting ka, tapos mababa na yung blood sugar mo, and then nandun na rin yung effect ng tinatawag natin na glucagon and other hormones such as your epinephrine, let's say for example, nasa-source out na yung mga glycogen store. So, yun yung nagpapataas ng fasting blood sugar. Ano yung dapat gawin para ma-address yan? Just continue doing your low carb. And dapat consistent. Kasi eventually, if yung insulin resistance mo ay makorek, kapag ka din, kasi alam nyo ba na ang liver natin, no? Tumataas din ang tumataas yung ano niyan, yung capacity niyan to store glycogen. Yes, may limit siya, pero tumataas ang capacity niya. So, ibig sabihin, dahil mataas pa yung capacity ng glycogen storage mo, it will take some time for it to normalize. Kasi hindi niya na ganun kakailangan. Dahil wala naman na din siyang i-store masyado. So, ibig sabihin niyan, kailangan po, kaya may mga ibang patient, doc, no, napapansin mo, as they fast longer, like for example, okay pa yung fasting blood sugar ng 12 hours, pero if they go forward doing 18 hanggang 20, doon na sila na-shock. Oh, shucks! Bakit kung kailan ako nag-fasting ng 20 hours, tumaas? Ayan na yung mga counter-regulatory hormone. Diyan na kasi papasok yung mga counter-regulatory hormones natin. Cortisol, glucagon, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So, sila na yung nagpapataas nung blood sugar. So, glycogen breakdown, and then creation of glucose as well. So, tutulong-tulong na yung mga yan. Kaya, yan yung mga time na biglang tataas yung blood sugar natin. So, itutuloy mo lang and make sure that you are doing it strict. Kasi, meron mga patient na ganito. Strict sila, fasting blood sugar na pababa na. And then, medyo makaka-cheat. Siguro half cup of rice. Pag tinignan nila, 2 hours after meal, mukhang insulin sensitive ako kasi medyo napababa ko. Pero ang balik kailan? The next day.
Wait kayo.
Big sabihin,
tataas. Lalo na yung mga sinasabi nila yung mga low GI.
Bukas pa pala yung balik. Tapos pag tatanungin sa akin, Dok, bakit biglang tumaas yung fasting blood sugar ko? Kagabi okay naman. Tsaka kumain ako, nag-rice ako, tanghali pa kahapon. Sabi ko, yan yung point eh. Kasi kapag dumating na yung time na counter-regulatory na, tapos yung ibang sugar pala doon, ini-store mo as glycogen. Lahat yan. Saka pa lang siya mag-appear on your blood during the time na nag-fast ka ng longer at nandun na yung mga counter-regulatory hormones. Okay? So, kailan pwedeng ihinto ang gamot? Pag normal na ba ang BP, pwede na agad ihinto? Hindi po basta-basta naghihinto ng gamot.
Punta po kayo sa doktor nyo.
Yes, meron po tayong paraan kung paano po yan ihinto. Kasi kung ihihinto nyo, alam nyo din po ba kung kailan ibabalik? Kasi hindi lang yan ang sapat na tanong. Ang tanong dyan, pwede ko ba ihinto? Pero kailan ko rin ibabalik? When is it, when is it na time para ibalik ko na siya? Or kailan ko ba masabing danger zone na ulit para, hindi pa pala kaya, ibabalik ko na pala ulit. Something like that. Alam nyo, hindi lang pagtatanggal ang mahirap dito, pati pagbabalik. Kasi kahit ihinto natin, minsan nga may inihihinto kami. Alam yan ni Doc Suzette. Kasi kunwari, judgment din namin, pwedeng ihinto. Pero may monitoring yan. At dapat alam mo rin kung kailan mo siya ibabalik. na hindi pa pala kaya ng system na wala siya? Or kailangan ba na babaan instead na ihinto? Something like that. Paano daw makapag-LC kung buntis? Nahirapan ako, 9 weeks pregnant po, nawalan ako ng gana sa pagkain na nakasanayan ko for 3 years. Po this way of eating. Sa ngayon, matatamis yung hinahanap ng panlasa ko, pero kinokontrol ko talaga. Protein yung pinapriority ko, pero may time talaga na di ko na-achieve yung daily protein requirement. So, ano ba to, Ma'am Beth? Nagkakamit na version? Ha?
Kasi parang magaling question niya kasi sabi niya 3 years na siyang naka-low way, this way of eating, pero nagtatanong siya kung paano mag-LC yung buntis.
Mm-hmm.
So, hindi siya naka-LC o naka-LC siya?
I think ang question niya is paano i-maintain ng LC sa buntis?
Okay.
Pero parang biglang
kasi 3 years na nakasanayan, di ba?
At saka 9 weeks ka pa lang.
Tapos nakasanay na siya for 3 years na this way of eating. So 3 years na siyang naka-LC. Then na-pregnant siya. So how to do LC sa pregnant? As is, same. Oo, kung anong practice mo nung hindi ka buntis, yun lang din yung practice mo pag buntis ka na. Except that kailangan mo lang itaas yung mas itaas yung iyong protein intake. Kasi ngayon na buntis ka kasi hindi dahil sa dalawa kayo kumakain, pero yung processes mo sa katawan mo mas tumaas. Sa tumaas yung demand noong katawan mo, hindi dahil sa dalawa yung kayong kumakain, but the processes inside your body is requires o nangangailangan ng mas mataas pa na protein requirement. So, talagang dumarating yung time na hindi, yung naghahanap ka ng matamis. Actually, minsan hindi matamis talaga yung interpretation dito, but because of the changes of the hormones ng mga babae kapag buntis, iba yung changes ng hormones depende sa kung anong trimester ng pregnancy. Pero try to avoid pa rin yung matatamis, especially sa first trimester. I-proseso mo siya sa utak mo na kapag ka nag-crave ka ng matatamis, is kailangan mo pa rin din kumain ng proteins. So baka hindi mo na-meet yung protein requirement mo kasi mas pina-prioritize or inaalaw mo yung mga pagkain ng matatamis, mas nauuna mo siya to the point na hindi ka na nakakakain. So, you can ayusin mo yung itsura ng food, minsan plating, kung makakatulong siya. Mas kumain ka ng may sabaw or mas mag-increase ka ng fat sa diet mo. But wag ka mag-fasting, definitely. Baka naka-fasting ka pa and hindi dapat nagpa-fasting ang buntis. You can eat as much as you want and as multiple or gaano karaming beses sa isang buong maghapon ka kumain para ma-achieve mo yung protein requirement mo. Kasi pinakamaselan or pinakamahirap sa food adjustment yung first trimester because hindi pa stable yung hormones. Tapos pagdating mo na naman ng second try, iba na namang hormones yung predominating. So iba na naman yung mararamdaman mo. But definitely kung paano mo siya ginawa prior pregnancy, ganun pa din. Itataas mo lang yung protein requirement mo.
Yes. Tsaka minsan kasi we are craving for something pero yung pala, we just want something that is so savory. There were times when I was craving for like something sweet or something malinamnam until such time I figured when I cook something savory, nawawala yung cravings. Meaning to say, maybe, nakaugalian ko rin kasi na kapag nagkikrave ako, ang una ko din talagang kinukuha ay something sweet kasi malinamnam. So, tinry ko na kapag nagkikrave ako for something sweet or something na malinamnam, I will cook like, for example, egg with lots of butter and then salt. So, magiging savory siya, savory and salty. And then, ito pala yung gusto ko. Pagka natikman ko siya, parang suddenly nag-o-open yung appetite ko ulit for the meat.
nag-open ulit yung appetite ko for the food. And it's something savory. So, walang pagkakaiba ang LC sa pagbubuntis. I guess nagkakaroon lang din tayo, yun nga, hormonal kasi na changes. So, there are cravings. Number 1 rule, pag buntis ka, huwag mong hintayin magutom ka bago ka kumain. Para lang yan sa stage ng menstruation when your progesterone is higher. During that time ng mens mo, ang nangyayari dyan, kapag ka nag-fasting ka na mas matagal, magkakaroon ka na ng cravings, sas pipigilan mo. Pag nag-open na yung window mo ng kain, kung ano-ano nang kakainin mo. Pag buntis ka, hindi ka dapat nagfa-fasting. Hindi po namin nire-recommend ang fasting sa buntis. At pwede mong unahan yung gutom mo kung gusto mo para hindi ka mag-crave. Meaning to say, kung sa tingin mo parang pwede ka nang kumain ka na. Para sa ganun, mas maiwasan mo na mag-crave ka sa kung ano-anong mga pagkain o iba pang mga pagkain. Isa po yan sa mga strategy na pwede nyong gawin. Kasi hindi ko din alam kung ano yung nakasanayan mong way of eating na dinadala mo pa rin sa pagbubuntis. Kasi medyo mahirap ito sagutin, Doc. Kasi pag sinabi niyang 3 years na itong way of eating ko, yung pala meron siyang fasting ng 20 hours, 16 hours, tapos intentional, tapos dadalhin mo sa pagbubuntis. Pag open ng window mo, gutom na gutom ka na, and so on and so forth. So, unang-una sa lahat, kumain ka. Kumain ka lang ng kumain, pero hindi high carb. At hindi fruits. Kasi tignan mo to, pina-flash ko dito. May time daw na nakakakain na rin siya ng HC goodies and fruits. Ngayon, dahil inumpisahan mo yan, alam nyo po ba, na kapag inumpisahan natin kumain ng high carb foods and even fruits or even anything na makakapag-open up ng pleasure center natin at makakapag-spike ng dopamine natin. Kahit isang beses lang, mahihirapan ka ulit bumalik the next day. Hindi dahil mahirap mag-keto, kundi dahil kakalabanin mo ulit yung sarili mo. Tapos buntis ka pa, medyo, that's a struggle. Struggle siya. Okay? So, isang question na lang, Doc?
Sure.
Yeah. Ang tanong, anong question? Wait lang. Meron ka ba mga nakikita na question? Hello po, Ate Bridget. Ito na lang, para vague. Low carb beer for almost 3 years. This will be the last question na i-entertain namin. Low carb beer for almost 3 years, 2 meals a day, 15 to 16 hours fasting, but my last year and recent lab, this Feb, my FBS is 6.58, HbA1c is still diabetic, uric acid is still high. So, ang mangyayari kasi dito, Ma'am Carol Valerio, how are you practicing your low carb? Because sometimes, low carb yun para sa inyo, pero kung hihimahin pala natin yung practice ninyo, hindi pala low carb. Or, low carb naman siya, pero hindi pa sapat na low carb para sa sitwasyon mo. Kumbaga, dito pumapasok yung bakit ba may mga level ang low carb? Bakit din ba kayo ina-assist at gina-guide? Bakit din ba namin dinidetermine ang para sa inyo? At bakit may tinatawag na well-formulated ketogenic diet? Dito pumapasok yung kapag may ginagawa tayo, lalo na at 3 years na, pero hindi natin na-attain yung kailangan natin at hindi natin na-attain yung goal natin, this is the time that you really need help. Ibig sabihin, ito na yung pagkakataon na, okay, nag-DIY ako, pero baka kasi may mali sa ginagawa ko, or baka may mali sa kung paano ko siya in-execute, or may mali sa pagkaunawa ko sa low carb, or may kulang pa ako na knowledge about low carb. I need help. In every practice that we have, in every practice that we're doing, we must also be able to recognize when is the time that kailangan na natin ng help. Medical help, medical assistance, and nutritional assistance. Kasi kung titignan mo dito, your HbA1c and even your uric acid is not telling us that you are in a low carb diet. hindi siya mukhang naka-low carb. So meaning to say, I'm not saying hindi ka low carb. It's just that, as a physician, I will really question how you're practicing your low carb. May mali. Either low carb, na low carb pa rin siya pero hindi low carb enough for you. Or, may mga or. So hindi ko na alam yung ibang or.
Maraming or actually. Marami siyang or.
May mga or. Ayan. So, yun lang po.
Kasi diabetic level to. Pero, hindi, Fee, bigyan natin ng benefit of the doubt. Baka naman kasi ngayon 6.7, baka naman nanggaling to ng 11, 12, tapos ngayon 6.7 na. So, but then again, still, kung 3 years na, the low carb, maraming problem doon sa, doon sa low carb. Maraming loopholes, I think, sa practice. So, yun yung kailangang tignan, himay-himayin, ayusin. Ayun.
Yes. I truly understand, Ma'am Carol, if you've been to a master class or any type of master class or watching all the teachings, some of our patients are also attending different master class, different conventions, and different teachings. The point here is, iba pa rin kung may mag-guide sa inyo regarding your own condition. Remember that master class, conventions, and summits are speaking to general population. And all teachings that you can watch in YouTube or even in Facebook are all addressed to the general population. So, hindi natin ibinibigay dito yung para sa bawat isa because there is going to be parang tailor-fit na formulation dahil iba-iba ang bawat tao. Doon papasok yung ibig kong sabihin kanina na when things go wrong, you have already attended a master class, you have already watched all teachings, but some of those you've been doing so well but hindi nag-work sa inyo. That is the time you need a one-on-one assistant or one-on-one na assessment. Doon talaga siya papasok. Okay. Yes, thank you, Ma'am Carol. And thank you so much, everyone, na nanonood po ngayon. Salamat po sa tawag dito, mga sumubaybay ngayong gabi at sa mga nakinig at sumuport po sa ating platform. Next week will be another topic na naman and I hope na makasama namin ulit kayo sa isang live stream ulit na isasagawa namin next week. Sana marami rin po kayo natutunan ngayong gabi. We are very sorry because we're time limited. Hindi po natin kakayanin na lahat sagutin. Hindi po natin kakayanin i-cater lahat. So, magandang gabi po ulit sa inyong lahat and salamat po sa inyong suporta.
Bye-bye. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you so much sa lahat na nag-participate and salamat din po sa lahat ng mga nanood ngayon. Please share our video. Please like. Please follow sa mga nanonood ngayon na hindi pa naka-follow. Baka naman po, pwede po kayong mag-follow sa amin. And para po lagi kayong maging updated whenever we do our live stream. So yun lamang po. Salamat po sa inyo and sa uulitin.
Bye!